Now, this error middleware that we have added here only catches errors that happen as part of request processing pipeline. So this is particular to Express. If an error is thrown outside the context of Express, this middleware will not be caught. Let me show you. So back in index.js, here after we configure Winston, I'm going to throw a new error. Something failed during startup. So this error is thrown outside the context of processing a request. It's outside the context of Express. So now, when I run this application, you will see that this error will crash the process and Winston will not be able to store it in the log. To verify this, I'm going to go to our log file, delete everything here, save. Now back in the terminal, the app is already crashed, but I want to do it one more time. So let's run it with node, index.js. Okay, so you can see the process crashed. Here's our error. Something failed during startup. And if you look at log file, you can see there is nothing here. So if you deploy this application to production, your application is not working and there's no way for you to know what went wrong unless you have access to the console on the server. So in this lecture, I'm going to show you how to properly handle unhandled exceptions in a node process. So this is at a higher level. It's not tied to Express. So back in index.js, earlier in the course, you learned about this process object. This process object is an event emitter. Remember event emitters? An event emitter is an object that can emit or publish events. And it gives us a method called on that we use to subscribe to an event. So here in Node, we have a standard event called Uncaught Exception. This event is raised when we have an exception in the node process, but nowhere we have handled that exception using a catch block. So make sure to spell it properly. Otherwise, what I'm going to show you in this lecture is not going to work. So if we have an uncaught exception event in this process, we want to handle it using this function. This function takes the exception object. And here we can do a simple console.log. We got an uncaught exception. And then we can use Winston to log it. So Winston.error, we pass exception.message, as well as the exception object as the metadata object. Now back in the terminal, let's run this one more time. So here's our message. We got an uncaught exception. Note that this time the process did not terminate because we caught the exception here. So the process terminates if we don't catch an exception, okay? Now let's take a look at our log file. You can see our error message, something failed during startup. So this is how we handle uncaught exceptions. In the next lecture, we're going to look at unhandled promise rejections.